What does it mean when one of India's most decorated cultural figures suggests that silence, not failure, is now the safest career choice? When a composer whose music once unified a nation becomes the target of ideological outrage, it raises a larger question about how power now shapes culture in the world's largest democracy. The backlash against A.R. Rahman is not just about one interview, it reveals deeper shifts in who is allowed to speak, create, and belong. If this moment escalates, India's creative industries could move further toward conformity, narrowing the space for artistic risk and plural expression. If it fades without consequence, it may signal that pressure tactics have become normalized and effective. If it prompts resistance, it could test whether cultural capital still carries protective weight. What unfolds here matters not only for Bollywood, but for how soft power, identity, and political authority interact in a globalized media economy. A.R. Rahman's position in Indian public life is unusual. Over a career spanning more than 3 decades, he has won 2 Academy Awards, 2 Grammys, a Golden Globe, and India's Padma Vibhushan. His compositions have crossed linguistic, regional, and religious boundaries, from Tamil cinema to Hindi blockbusters to Hollywood productions. Songs like Jai Ho and Ma Tujhe Salam became national symbols at moments when India projected unity and optimism to the world. Rahman rarely engages in political debate, which is why his recent remarks drew attention. In a long-form interview, he suggested that some professional opportunities may have been affected by bias he perceived as communal, communicated indirectly rather than openly. He framed it as something relayed through intermediaries, not confrontations, and emphasized that it did not happen face-to-face. Within hours, those comments were reframed online as an accusation against the nation itself. Right-wing commentators and affiliated organizations responded with coordinated criticism. Some questioned Rahman's loyalty, others demanded public apologies, and many accused him of exploiting identity for sympathy. The reaction was amplified across social media platforms, where ideological alignment often determines visibility. Within a day, Rahman released a clarification video emphasizing gratitude, national pride, and ongoing work on projects rooted in Hindu cultural narratives, including a major mythological film score. The intensity of the backlash highlighted how cultural figures now operate within a compressed margin for interpretation. In India, where approximately 14% of the population identifies as Muslim, public expression is increasingly filtered through assumptions of collective identity. Analysts who study digital mobilization note that sustained online outrage can manufacture the appearance of social consensus, even when it originates from relatively concentrated networks. This episode cannot be separated from broader changes in India's political environment since 2014. The consolidation of power around Hindu nationalist ideology has reshaped institutions, discourse, and incentives. Bollywood, once celebrated for its secular and syncretic ethos, has increasingly produced films aligned with majoritarian narratives. Movies portraying Muslims as antagonists, internal threats, or morally suspect have gained prominence, while projects emphasizing pluralism face higher scrutiny. Historically, Hindi cinema often externalized conflict, framing Pakistan or foreign actors as adversaries. That pattern aligned with geopolitical tensions but preserved internal cohesion. In recent years, that boundary has shifted inward. Films like The Kashmir Files and The Kerala Story generated significant political endorsement while being accused by critics of reinforcing stereotypes. Even when commercially successful, such projects altered expectations around acceptable storytelling. Rahman's own career reflects this transition. He composed music for films across ideological lines, including works later criticized as divisive. In the same interview that sparked controversy, He acknowledged discomfort with narratives that deepen social fractures. That acknowledgement, rather than the substance of any allegation, appears to have triggered the reaction. It challenged an implicit rule: cultural contributors may participate, but commentary on power dynamics carries risk. The pressure is not limited to composers. Prominent Muslim actors have faced repeated boycott campaigns, investigations, and loyalty tests. Amir Khan's films encountered sustained protests following comments about intolerance. Shah Rukh Khan has been labeled anti-national for statements made years earlier and faced scrutiny unrelated to his professional output. Even commercial decisions, such as casting or sports team management, have been politicized. Data underscores the climate surrounding these incidents. Independent monitoring groups documented more than 1,300 incidents of anti-minority hate speech in 2025, nearly double the number reported 2 years earlier. Much of it originated in political contexts before spreading through digital ecosystems. Human rights organizations also reported targeted demolitions and social exclusion affecting Muslim communities across multiple states. What if this trajectory continues unchecked? One scenario points to deepening self-censorship, where filmmakers preemptively alter scripts, character names, and themes to avoid controversy. Economic risk already shapes creative decisions in an industry where financing depends on mass acceptance. Over time, this could reduce narrative diversity and weaken India's cultural export strength, which relies on emotional range and global relatability. Another possibility is selective resistance. Established figures with international standing may choose indirect or symbolic forms of dissent, using global platforms or nonverbal cues. However, this approach carries limits. International recognition does not always translate into domestic insulation, especially when narratives of national loyalty are weaponized. Globally, India's cultural sector plays a strategic role in soft power projection. Bollywood films, music, and stars shape perceptions across South Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and diaspora communities. If the industry becomes closely aligned with a single ideological frame, it risks narrowing its appeal and complicating diplomatic narratives that emphasize diversity and democratic values. The Rahman episode illustrates how quickly symbolic capital can be contested. A figure once positioned beyond politics found himself required to reaffirm allegiance. The absence of public solidarity from much of the industry suggests a rational calculation rather than agreement. Silence becomes a survival strategy when association itself carries cost.